Hey, just to let you know, when I talk about the Huckleberry sleep app, there are no affiliations between me and the Huckleberry company. The Huckleberry app was something that I found of my own accord and have used it, and it's worked for me. I talk about my own personal experiences with it, and I'd highly recommend you go and check it out because it might work for you. I've had really good success with it, so I hope you will too. In terms of, as per usual, if there's anything that you feel that I've forgotten to tell you within the sleep video, or if there's anything that you want me to expand on in what I spoke about in the video, just comment below or send me an email and I'll respond to you either by the comments or email, or if there's lots of questions of things that I may have forgotten to tell you, then I'll do an update video for you too. If you found this video helpful, which I hope that you have, I hope that you found, if you're going through the same thing as what I went through, I hope you found some solace in terms of someone else feeling the same way, someone else feeling the same type of struggles. Give the video a thumbs up, remember to subscribe and click that alert button for more videos, and I'll see you soon. Hey, welcome to Mama Do, hope you're doing well. So today let's talk about baby and toddler sleep, or lack of it. So my little boy, from when he was born, he's never ever been a good sleeper. I can probably count on one hand the times that he slept through the night. And I'm not expecting him to do it every night, you know, he's still tiny. But when you've got a chronic illness and you suffer from chronic fatigue, it's really, really, really tough. And I wasn't a fool to the fact before I got pregnant that babies have trouble sleeping. I think I just didn't foresee it to be this much, or as much as it is currently and has been for the past 17 months. And it does take its toll after a while. We all know that any type of sleep deprivation is really bad for your health, especially if you've got MS, because it can trigger residual symptoms, it can trigger relapses, etc. So anyway, since my little boy was born, he would find it difficult to go to sleep, even when he was really tiny. And you know, I expect that. He's brand new, you know, he doesn't know what the hell's going on. He's got lights to understand, he's got noises to understand, he's got smells to understand. He's got to learn all these things that we know to do on autopilot. But he was a cluster feeder, which meant that every 10-15 minutes he would want a little bit of food, and then he would stop, and then he'd want a little bit more, and then he would stop, and that cycle would continue. And when you're breastfeeding as well, that also really does take its toll. So I did stop breastfeeding. I think it was after 2 or 3 weeks. One, I don't think I was producing enough milk, or maybe I was. Maybe it was just because he was a cluster feeder that I thought that I couldn't produce enough milk to satisfy him. But because he was always on me wanting to feed, and I needed some rest, I said to my husband, you know, we've got to find a different solution to this. So we went and bought formula, a bottle machine, and then started feeding him like that, because if I was asleep or if I needed to go to sleep, someone else could feed him. And He just wouldn't go to sleep even after he fed. There was loads of people that I spoke to where they feed their babies, and as soon as they've drunk some milk or drained a bottle, people would say that they would go to sleep for, you know, an hour and a half, 2 hours. And I just couldn't get it. I just couldn't get him to do that, to replicate what other people were saying to me. And there's so many people that I've spoken to where they say that their babies are angels with sleep and that they nap perfectly, and that the only problems that they've had with sleep as a baby and toddler is when they're transitioning through naps. So when they go from, say, 3 naps to 2 naps, 2 naps to 1 nap. And I don't know whether to believe that all these people who have told me that their babies are angels with sleep and they sleep throughout the night and they're never restless and noise doesn't bother them. I don't know whether to believe that or not. There are minimal people that I've spoken to who have had the same issues as me. And I don't know whether it's just because I'm being honest and I don't feel like a bad mom for being honest and say that my kid doesn't sleep. And I don't know what to think, whether am I in the wrong for doing what I do, or am I doing something wrong? Is there something that I could do better to help him try and sleep? Although I've tried so many things, so many things. He would, when he was tiny, you'd have to rock him and rock him and rock him and sing to him and walk around the room and really try and placate him to get him to go to sleep, which I understand when they're super tiny, because, you know, everything's brand new. But the point when they're asleep, you try and put him down, and he'd either wake up the moment that you put him down in the bassinet or the co-sleeper, or he would stay in there for about 3 to 5 minutes and then wake up screaming. So I had to literally sit with him in my arms every single time he went to sleep. And I'm not saying that that's a bad thing at all, because you're spending time with your little one. They've lived inside you for 9 months. You're all that they know at this point. But sometimes you just need a break. Sometimes you just need to sit, I don't know, on your own, in the quiet, watch TV, whatever. You just need to sit and do nothing. And I could never get that. I could never get that time. And I kept saying to myself, perhaps when he gets a little bit older, he'll start to settle. And even in the night, he wouldn't settle. And again, I understand that when he was tiny, because they regularly wake up to feed. So I expected all of that. And then it's almost like you're lulled into a false sense of security, because up to, let's say, 3 months to 6 months, he started getting in his own little pattern. Although it was still sporadic, you still had to really coax him to go to sleep, whether it be at night time or whether it was a nap during the day. And you really had to coax him back to sleep when he woke up. But he started getting in his own little rhythm, and me and my husband decided at, I think it was 6 months, to maybe put him in his own room, because we were reading all these different things on the internet, and we tried a couple of other things, and a few people had said that when they took them out of their room and put them into their own room, they started to settle a little bit better. So we thought, okay, let's give this a try. It's worth a try to just try and get a little bit more sleep. And I was a bit apprehensive, obviously, because he slept next to me in a co-sleeper for all that time, up since when he was born to 5-6 months. So we brought his crib into our room and at the end of the bed and started to put him to sleep in there. And he didn't notice that move. He was absolutely fine and slept exactly the same as he did when he was in his co-sleeper. And then we let him sleep in there for a couple of weeks, and then we moved the crib from our room into his room. And again, that didn't bother him too much at all. And I kind of thought, oh my God, this is like brilliant. He's going to get into a really good rhythm now. He hasn't been bothered about the move. He's going to get used to his own little room. And he kind of settled in there. But for his naps in the day, he would only have, I don't know, between 20 minutes and 30 minutes. And he would never go longer than what I found out was his sleep cycle. So he would wake up and not settle back into sleep. And what I did was I just picked him up, took him out, took him back downstairs and carried on the day until his next nap and his next nap. And I just did exactly the same thing. And then at night time, he would seem to settle down fine and wake up, you know, during the night for feeds. But he was, the bit where he was an absolute dream was that when he woke up, you could make a bottle, feed him, and he would fall straight back to sleep. So that was fine for me, because I knew that I could get up, make a bottle, go and feed him, and he would go straight back to sleep. And then he started to get really fussy, and I'd probably say this was maybe 10 months old, something like that. And he just would not settle, would not go back to sleep. And I was walking around his room, walking around the landing, took him downstairs, walking around the kitchen, trying to put the radio on, you know, rocking him around, singing to him, this, that and the other. And I literally got to the end of any type of energy that I had, and I just used to burst into tears because I was just so tired, and I couldn't seem to, as a mother, find what would soothe my baby to help him stop crying. And if you're a mom and your baby can't be soothed by you, no matter what you do, you start to really think that you're doing something wrong. You start to really think that your baby doesn't like you. Or, I know that sounds stupid, but I've found, you know, I've spoken to other people who feel exactly the same thing. And my husband said to me, you know, that's just silly talk. You know, he's lived inside you for 9 months. You're his mum. He's going to love you the most out of anybody. And, you know, I know that that's true. But when you're sleep deprived and you can't soothe your baby, you do start to feel really bad and really guilty. I did some reading about sleep again, and you go every single time that they're crying and they won't go back to sleep, you go through the normal checklist. Is their nappy wet? Have they done a poo? Have they got tummy ache? Are they hungry? Are they in some kind of pain? Are they teething? Are they poorly? Are they, you know, you go through this list, and once you get to the end of that list and you've got nothing else, you kind of feel defeated then, because there's nothing else that you can kind of check, you know. So you just have to, you know, walk around singing, rocking, whatever, until they go back to sleep. And I'd been reading about routines you know, sleep routines and how many hours sleep that babies and toddlers need at certain age groups, and it really looked like on average he wasn't getting the right amount of sleep. And I think it's probably one of the reasons why he was a bit naggy in the daytimes. And me being a first time mum, you come across these sleep charts and you think, okay, this is a bonus, I'm going to stick to this. I'm going to look at these times on this chart and I'm going to stick to this and stick to this plan. And because I said to my husband, I said, something's got to change. Because when he was really little, he was, you know, he was up till, God, 11, 10, 11, half 11, 12 at night. And the only way we could soothe him was to put him in his, you know, a baby rocker, strap him in. And we called it swoosh swoosh. We need to do swoosh swoosh to get him to sleep. And it was where we would push this rocker back and forth, back and forth, back and forth for however long it took for him to drift off to sleep. And then I would unbuckle it, pick him up, go and take him up the stairs, and he would stay asleep for a while. And there was times where he would wake up in the night and I couldn't get him back to sleep, and I was sleeping on the sofa whilst he fell asleep in the rocker, and because I was so tired I would also fall asleep as well. And then I'd feel guilty for falling asleep on the sofa whilst he was in the rocker. He was safe, but obviously I'd rather him be in bed. So anyway, I said to my husband, we've got to try and do something. And I didn't quite feel brave enough to do the Ferber method and all the other ones. I'm not very good with leaving babies and toddlers to cry. That's just me. You know, in my brain, I can't deal with it. So you find this chart and you think, this is amazing. Right, I'm going to stick to this. This has got to work. It's got to work. Me being naive, I tried to just stick to those times, and he became overtired, really cranky, slept even worse, and I was literally at a loss, cranky myself at this point. So more and more research, and I came across an app called Huckleberry, and they give you a free trial, and they have what's called the sweet spot, and the sleep's all worked out dependent on how many naps they have a day, whether it be 3, 2 or 1, and what time they woke up from their last nap to predict the time that they're likely to have their next nap. And I thought, okay, I'm just going to try it. I didn't even look at any more information about anything, because I was at a point where I would literally try anything to just try and get some sleep myself, but also I know that he needs sleep for his own development. And it worked like an absolute dream. And I was super shocked that the information that I recorded in this app would predict when he was most likely to go to sleep for his next nap or bedtime, and I would stick to it. I wasn't regimented with it, but I would stick to the, you know, the around about times, and it allowed me to be more aware around that time of his cues of being tired and when he possibly needed to go to sleep. So that was an absolute game changer. So if you are having the same problems as me, I'd head off to the App Store or Google Play Store and download the Huckleberry Sleep app, because it worked wonders for me, and hopefully it'll be able to help you too. I mean, my little boy's 17 months now, and I don't use it anymore because I've really got to grips with the amount of time he can stay awake for. And it's transitioned down to 1 nap a day, so it's a bit easier in my brain to figure out the times. Now, when he was 1, he went through this thing at bedtime, and I've always, ever since he was, say, 2 months old, had a bedtime routine, because I thought if I start this early and just do a bedtime routine from, 2 months up until whenever he requires it for, then he'll get used to that. He'll get used to having a bath, then he'll get used to having a bottle, stories, bedtime. But when he was about 1, literally completely went out of the window, and I don't know what caused it. I'm still at a loss trying to think back what caused it. You obviously have there's going to be different things from time to time, like when they have their immunisations, when they're teething, if they haven't been to the toilet. All those different things will throw a spanner in the works at some point. But I mean something went wrong. Every single night I would battle and battle and battle at bedtime to be able to get him to bed, and I would follow the same routine: bath, bottle, books, bed. And for some reason it just didn't work, and I fell into the trap of almost being guided by him, that he then was staying downstairs with me and my husband on the sofa, and then I'd let him fall asleep and then take him up to bed. And if I deviate from that, if we tried to go to sleep upstairs, there would be a battle. And it's weird thinking that you would have such a battle with a 1-year-old. When I say battle, I mean like my child was possessed by something crazy. It wasn't just crying, I mean it was like temper tantrum crying with some kind of wriggle monster within them. If I was holding him, he would push with his fists, elbows, hands, feet, knees, like really push to the point where I was struggling to even keep hold of him. If I lay him on the bed upstairs, he would do exactly the same thing and then get up, and I was put him back down, because everything I read said if they get up, just kindly put them back down, or kiss them on the head, put them back down, say bedtime, and repeat that until they get it. And some nights it would take me an hour and a half, 2 hours to get him to even go to sleep. And by the time you've done all that, and then you go back downstairs and you think, right, time for tea or whatever, your husband's eating tea, yours is in the oven, lukewarm. And then you look at the time and you think, oh my God, I've got to go to bed myself now. So no time to kind of just sit and relax. And it really got to me. It really got to my husband, in terms of, yes, we were frustrated, but we were also really upset that he felt the need to, push and pull and fight for this length of time until we could get him to go to sleep and be settled. And I said to my husband, I said, maybe we're going to have to try a bit more of an extreme method. I call it an extreme method. Other people don't call it extreme methods, you know, the cry it out methods and stuff like that. And loads of people have had success with it. I just felt odd about it because it was almost like I was leaving my kid to cry. I think about it a bit different, in a bit of a different way now, after reading more about it. And I did try it, and I did give it a good go. I think it was 2 weeks. So you obviously settle him, say goodnight. And I used to wait until he was asleep. So maybe that was the first error, I don't know. Wait till he was asleep, come out the room. If he woke up, I would leave him for a certain length of time, then go to him, then resettle him, then come out. If he cried, wait for a certain length of time, and then go back in and repeat that process until he was asleep. But he never would. He would never go to sleep. He would either cry so much he would start to hyperventilate, or cry so much he would start to gag as if he was going to be sick. And I thought, I can't do this anymore. I can't let him get to a state where he's hyperventilating, and I can't let him get to a state where he's gagging to be sick because he's crying so much. And I think the most that I ever got up to leaving him cry was 3 minutes or something. And I know that in the literature you read about this sleep method, that the length of time that you leave him for is a lot longer than that. And I couldn't have physically left him that long because he would have been sick. I eventually got to the stage where I was so tired that in the middle of the night I picked him up and walked into my bedroom and put him in the middle of mine and my husband's bed, in between my husband and me, and went to sleep. And he slept like a dream. He was absolutely flat out, slept until morning. And I couldn't believe it. But I also felt guilty at the same time, because there's so much you read on the internet about not letting children sleep with their parents. You know, you shouldn't have your kid sleeping with you in your bed. So anyway, we went through a period of time where whenever he got restless or I couldn't get him back to sleep, I would just put him in our bed because I was just desperate for sleep. I asked my husband, I said, what do you think about him sleeping with us? Are you bothered by it? Because if you are, you know, we'll try something different. And my husband said, not at all. He said, when I come upstairs into the bedroom and I see you fast asleep and I see him fast asleep and I know that you're both getting rest, he said, that's all that matters to me. So I was absolutely fine, you know, by that, and I thought was a really nice thing to say. When you, and if you've had experience of sleeping with a toddler in your bed, you will know that they move around a lot and you get kicked in the face, kicked in the neck, you've got legs over your head, you've got bums in your face, and you're kind of sleeping, unless you've got a really big bed, you're kind of sleeping on your side on the smallest, tiniest piece of mattress, and you end up starting to get a little bit less sleep, and when you wake up in the morning, you know you've got a crick neck or your shoulder hurts or whatever. So we bought a toddler bed and wedged it in between the wall and our bed so he couldn't fall out either side. And he sleeps in there now the majority of the time, but if he is restless one night or if he won't go to sleep in there, I just pick him up, put him in our bed, he goes to sleep, and then I transfer him back. Sometimes I don't even have the energy to transfer him back, I just let him sleep in there until the morning. And that works. It works for us absolutely fine, knowing that he's in there, he's happy, we're in our bed. If he's restless and he wakes up, I can just kind of pick him up and put him in between us, and he'll go back to sleep, and then I can transfer him across if needs be. If not, he'll stay asleep with us. So that works so far. He still doesn't sleep throughout the night. Getting him to sleep is so much better than what it was. And I don't know whether it was a phase he was going through with that whole pushing, pulling, kicking, screaming, trying to get off you thing that he was doing. I don't know what it was doing, but it was horrible. I don't know whether that was a phase, but I still stuck to the same routine at bedtime. I didn't really want to break away from it, because I know that you kind of need that set routine for them to learn things by. But instead of, trying to fight him, one night, and I don't know what made me do it, I lay him down on my pillow, so his head was on my pillow, and I put my head next to him on my pillow, and I just put my arm around him, kissed him on the side of the head, and said, "It's time for bed, we've got to go to sleep now. Let Mama sing you some songs." So we were side by side on the pillow, and I sung him a couple of nursery rhymes. And then I realised that he wasn't making a noise, so I kind of looked up at him from the pillow, and his eyes were firmly shut because he'd fallen fast asleep. And I didn't know what to think. I thought, because when they go from being an absolute nightmare to just going to sleep, you kind of wonder what's going on. But anyway, picked him up, put him in his bed next to ours, and went downstairs and turned on the monitor and said to my husband, "Look, he's asleep." And he couldn't believe it either. But whatever I did tonight, I am going to do every night from now on. And it's worked every night bar one. And I think I just got the timing of his sleep wrong. But I will literally now go upstairs with him, put his head on the pillow, put my head down on the pillow, put my arm around him, kiss him goodnight, sing him a couple of nursery rhymes, and he'll fall asleep, and I move him into his own bed. And some people will say that that's not teaching him anything. That's not teaching him how to go to bed. That's not teaching him how to self-soothe. That's not teaching him how to fall asleep properly. But do you know what? He's just a month off being 1.5, and I don't mind that. I don't mind what used to take me up to 2 hours of a battle being taken down to potentially maximum 20 minutes of having a nice quiet time next to my little boy. And I remember being out on a walk with him the one day, and I saw one of my neighbours whose daughter is grown up now, and I was talking to her about it, and she said to me, "Do you know what? In the grand scheme of things, you've only got to think about one thing." She said, "If it works for you, then carry on doing it." She said, "That's all that matters." And I reflect on that statement all the time when I'm thinking about what I'm doing. And I would say to you, if you're pre-baby, pre-toddler, if you've got a baby, got a toddler, and you're having difficulties with sleeps and naps, do what works for you. Do what feels comfortable for you. If you're happy and your baby or toddler is happy, then continue doing that. My mum said to me, and she said it to me multiple times before, it won't be like this forever. This is when we were having a bad time. It won't be like this forever. And also, you won't get this time back. And that's the thing. When I was into about a week and a half of lying down with him on the pillow and singing to him and him going to sleep, and after he'd gone to sleep, me looking at his little face and thinking how thankful I was to have such a healthy and beautiful and smart and fiery little boy, I kept thinking to myself, I'm not going to get this time back. He's going to get to a certain age where he does not want me to come in his bedroom. He's going to get to an age where he does not want me to kiss him goodnight, tuck him in, sing him a bedtime song, read him a bedtime story. There's going to come a day where he won't want any of that. And I almost see it as a good thing that I get to spend that time with him before he goes to sleep, because there'll become a day where he won't want me to do any of that anymore. And I suppose that'll be my time then to understand that you've got to kind of let go. But I don't want to put myself in a position where he gets to that age and then I'm regretting not spending enjoyable time doing all this routine stuff. I would rather it be an enjoyable experience where I'm happy, he's happy, we're both safe, we both enjoy time together, and he feels settled and happy. So all I would say is, if you're currently struggling, or if you haven't had your baby yet and you feel under pressure when you do have your baby, that if they don't sleep very well, you do all this reading, you feel pressured into doing certain things to try and get your baby to sleep or self-soothe or go to sleep on their own, and you don't feel right about it, it doesn't feel comfortable to you, find something that works for you. Go through anything in your brain that you think might work. It could be rocking, it could be singing songs, it could be listening to the radio, it could be anything like that. Find out what works for you, and as long as you are comfortable with it, your baby or toddler is comfortable with it, and everyone gets some sleep, then it doesn't matter. Do what works for you. Until next time, stay healthy.